The 2008 housing crisis wasn't just your standard market correction. It was a literal once-in-a-lifetime financial hurricane that basically brought the entire global economy to its knees. But today, we're going to zero in on a really fascinating anomaly sitting right at the epicenter of all that chaos.
Well, dozens of these massive, seemingly untouchable banks were completely collapsing or begging the government for bailouts. Jamie Dimon's bank, JPMorgan Chase, did something totally different. It didn't just survive unscathed, it actually capitalized on the widespread panic to conquer the industry. So you've got to wonder, how exactly did he do it? How did Jamie Dimon become the absolute last man standing on Wall Street?
Panic, crash, free fall, meltdown. These are the words that define sudden financial crises, right? They used them for Black Monday in '87 and again in 2008. But to truly understand how Dimon completely avoided this fate, we actually have to look backward. We need to see exactly how his survival instincts were forged decades earlier. Because, let's be real, every major crisis shares the exact same root. Nobody expects it.
So to really get 2008, we have to look at the making of a deal maker. Dimon wasn't just born into the 2008 crisis with all the answers. His extreme confidence and that intense drive for greatness, that started way earlier.
Right out of the gate, the guy was a total nonconformist. He graduates from Harvard Business School at the absolute top of his class, and of course, he's flooded with these prestigious Wall Street job offers. But he rejects that traditional path. Instead, he takes a fraction of the salary just to learn the art of the deal directly from legendary financier Sandy Weill. And when Weill was later forced out of American Express, Dimon showed immense loyalty. He literally quit his job to follow his mentor straight into the unknown.
And that unknown led them down to Baltimore, to a struggling and frankly crappy loan company called Commercial Credit. It had a terrible return on equity, but Dimon looked at it and saw hidden value. Assets they could sell, costs they could cut. And to prove it could be turned around, a young Jamie Dimon took a massive personal risk. He invested everything he had. We're talking $425,000 of his own money into the company.
Which brilliantly illustrates his very first core philosophy, and it's one that would define his entire career: skin in the game. He fundamentally believes that nobody should put others at risk without exposing themselves to that exact same harm. If you lose money for your clients, well, you need to feel the pain too. By putting his entire net worth on the line, he proved he was ready to do whatever it took to make the business survive. And honestly, that's a profound lesson for any leader today. True authority comes from sharing the risk.
Fast forward a bit to 1998, and he's helped build Citigroup into the biggest financial conglomerate in America. He was the heir apparent, right up until his totally abrupt fall from grace.
Now, here is a fascinating, almost soap opera-level piece of Wall Street history. The heir to the biggest financial empire gets ousted over a spat about his boss's daughter. See, Dimon strictly adhered to his values of treating everyone equally. So when Sandy Weill placed his own daughter in Dimon's division, friction sparks instantly. They clashed over business strategy. Dimon favored low-cost mutual funds for clients over traditional high-fee ones. And when promotion time rolled around, Dimon bluntly refused to give his mentor's daughter any special treatment. That refusal, combined with his generally blunt management style, led to Weill just abruptly firing him. So suddenly, the Prince of Wall Street is out of a job, but he took this massive failure completely in stride. When he went home to tell his family the news, he famously said, "Citigroup is my net worth, not my self-worth." He knew that bouncing back from rock bottom was going to require finding a completely new launching pad.
Well, rock bottom didn't last very long at all. In 1999, he found his proving ground, taking on the turnaround of a failing, heavily despised conglomerate out in Chicago called Bank One. The situation there was grim. The stock was down, customer service was absolutely awful, and the executives, they were known for incredibly lavish spending. So, right on cue, sticking to that skin-in-the-game rule, Dimon immediately pours $50 million of his own wealth into Bank One stock. He was gambling his entire future on this turnaround, sending a crystal-clear signal to the board and the market that he was fully committed to the painful work ahead.
And man, did he do the painful work. He deployed a sheer ruthlessness to beat this company back into shape, doing all the things no one else wanted to touch. He stripped executives of their country club memberships and their company cars. He let go of 12,000 employees. And he took massive write-downs. Basically, he took an incredibly painful upfront financial hit to clear toxic, worthless assets off the books once and for all. He literally looked people in the eye and told them they were collectively to blame, and now they had to fix it. But the pain worked. After posting a $500 million loss his first year just to aggressively clean house, Dimon engineered an astounding $2.6 billion profit just a year later. Through sheer force of will, he turned the entire company around and positioned it perfectly to thrive.
But here's the thing, those profits weren't just for show. This turnaround achieved his ultimate obsession, and really, this is the central thesis of his survival. It's called the fortress balance sheet. Dimon defines this as having assets that hold real, tangible value, completely avoiding extraordinary leverage and structuring everything for maximum shock absorption. He was essentially building financial walls thick enough to withstand any economic earthquake you could throw at it.
And that obsession with a fortress balance sheet brings us right back to the climax. It's 2004, Dimon is named CEO of JPMorgan Chase, and the housing bubble, it is inflating rapidly.
Now look at the ultimate contrast in leadership here. Over at his old firm, Citigroup, the new CEO was blindly riding this housing boom, famously declaring, "We have to dance until the music stops." But Dimon? He took the exact opposite approach. He actively reduced their subprime mortgage exposure, meaning he was dumping the risky home loans that he knew were destined to fail. He fortified his walls, built up capital, and stockpiled liquidity, while everyone else was just carelessly dancing the night away.
Well, when the music finally stopped in 2007 and 2008, it was an absolute disaster. Wall Street giant Bear Stearns imploded completely because of all these hidden subprime risks. They arrogantly thought financial derivatives had eliminated their risk, but honestly, all they really did was hide it. Suddenly, the government desperately needed a savior to step in and prevent a total, catastrophic, global meltdown.
Because JP Morgan had zero chance of a bank run, thanks entirely to that fortress balance sheet we talked about, Dimon was in a position of ultimate power. He swoops in and offers a truly shocking $2 a share for Bear Stearns. Yes, you heard that right, $2. This was a legendary firm that had just recently traded at $170 a share. It was an incredible bargain born out of leverage, allowing him to absorb them while taking virtually no risk onto his own carefully structured books.
And that strategy paid off in historic proportions. By the end of 2008, the House of Morgan was effectively the House of Dimon. He was crowned as the undisputed king of Wall Street, having expertly navigated the worst financial crisis in modern history.
While the rest of the world was completely gripped by a recession, JPMorgan Chase basically defied gravity. They completely avoided requiring government bailouts to survive. Their money market business absorbed a staggering $200 billion as terrified investors fled to safety. Their commercial banking income astonishingly spiked 27%. Because of early risk management, they became universally viewed as the bank of last resort.
At the end of the day, he survived because he is deeply principled. He tells the truth, he takes the blame for mistakes, and he puts his skin in the game, literally putting the jersey on every single day. Even his former mentor, Sandy Weill, the guy who fired him, remember, watched Citigroup nearly collapse in 2008 and openly admitted that losing Jamie Dimon was likely the absolute worst mistake of his entire career.
So, as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with this provocative thought. Dimon knew the crisis was coming because markets are fundamentally cyclical. Whether we're talking about your business, your investments, or just your personal life, are you actively building your own fortress balance sheet to survive the next inevitable storm? Or are you just dancing until the music stops?